What's going on, you guys? Full steer, and I'm back with another video. In today's video, I'll be doing an in-depth Diana jungle guide. She is an insanely good champion you can play right now. She's an AP jungler as well. I really love playing Diana. She's probably one of my favorite. If you play her well enough, you can easily win like a lot of games with her. I think my average win rate on this champion right now is about 80%. So, playing her properly, you will be able to gain a lot of elo. People do not know how to play against Diana either, so you've got that going for you as well. She is not seen that often, so yeah. I'm just gonna explain to you guys how to play her now. So, for the runes. There are two main rune options. It's either Dark Harvest or Electrocute. Dark Harvest is the better option in most of your games, but in games against early game junglers like Lee Sin, or like Elise maybe, just anything early game Xin Zhao, Electrocute might be necessary for that little bit of extra damage. Usually, though, you still are able to get away with Dark Harvest, but yeah, that's the option you have. Now, after that, you want to get Sudden Impact, because it synergizes really well with your ultimate. It's gonna allow you to just one-shot at everything a little bit easier because of the extra added magic penetration. Then, right here, you can go either Zombie Ward or Eyeball Collection. Both are good if you feel like your Zombie Ward's gonna be against like a lot more vision control, or for a lot more vision control, which is gonna be more important the higher elo you get. In the lower elos though, the Eyeball Collection is probably the better option because there's less vision control going on, and there's also less wards to sweep and all that with Zombie Ward to get those extra value out of that. Now, as your final rune, there is really one option, and that is the Ingenious Hunter. This is because of Zhonya's. Zhonya's is an insanely good item on Diana, and that's definitely the item you want to get pretty much as soon as you can. And Ingenious Hunter gives you an insane added cooldown reduction on your Zhonya's, which is going to make the item even more useful to you. And that's the reason you kind of want, like, you really just want to get this. Now, the other option here would be Relentless Hunter for the other, like, extra added movement speed. But you already get the secondary tree for that, and that's the combo of Celerity and Water Walking. This is the best secondary combo you can get, really, because of the fact that it just adds that extra movement speed to it. Plus, you are picking up a Lich Bane on Diana, which means you are getting that extra move speed from that, which synergizes then really well with just this, in general, the Celerity. So, that is pretty much your rune setup. These are just the runes you want to go for. Again, Electrocute is the only real switch you want to get if you are facing early game junglers and feel like you need the extra damage from that. Usually, though, in the lower elos, this is not necessary at all because you don't get pressured in enough from enemy junglers. So I'd say anything below Diamond, I wouldn't recommend switching off of Dark Harvest. Even if you're facing early game junglers, just because of the fact that you are never really going to get pressured in that much from early game junglers in the lower stages, or like the lower elos. Going into higher elos though, up in like the high diamond masters, all that type of stuff, you are gonna get pressured in from early game junglers. You are gonna get invaded and all that, and then Electrocute becomes a lot better to be able to actually win fights, because your W gives you a really good amount of extra shielding. You put 2 early points into that W as well, so that combined with Electrocute is gonna actually allow you to swing a lot of fights in your favor. So that's the runes for Diana. Let's just get right onto the items. Make a new set. So starting items on Diana. There is only really one good option for starting, because you need that Hunter's Talisman. Before, when Machete actually used to give you attack speed, Machete was the better option, because getting more attack speed on Diana means more passive hits on Diana, which means you clear faster. You do take more damage because you don't heal like back as much health as you do with the Talisman because of the spells that you use on your jungle monsters. You do have your W to counteract a lot of the damage, so then the Hunter's Machete was better, but now your only option is Hunter's Talisman, because this is just going to allow you to sustain a lot easier. It's going to pretty much put you at full HP throughout your entire clear, and that's really all you're looking for. Now, the refillable potion is just there to help you out a little bit, and this is also upgradable into the Hunter's Potion mostly if you're getting pressured in and you're not able to get enough blue buffs, I guess. Also, if you want to give your blue buff away to a mid laner that absolutely needs it to be able to like hold mid control or anything like that, then getting the Hunter's Potion will also really help you a lot, in combination with then also having your jungle item later on for extra mana sustain. So this is an option. It just depends on if you have a mid laner that needs the blue buff, and also if you are getting pressured in, because if you are getting killed by the enemy jungler early game, then this is an item you need to get. At that stage, when I get killed, I'll have about the gold for this upgrade, and then also boots. And then that is what I will get on Diana on that back if I get killed. So that's the option there. Now on your first back, usually you should be able to get through a full clear, which is going to mean you have about 900 to 950 gold. And that's going to amount to either the skirmisher upgrade with boots, or just boots and an amplifying tome. Because this costs 435 and then this costs 650. So if you back with like 900 gold, waiting for like 40 gold, it's going to take a little bit too much time in the early game, especially since those times matter and you need to get to a lane to put some pressure down. So then picking this up with maybe a control ward is your option instead. Now the first item you want to rush into as fast as possible is your upgraded jungle item. However you got there is like, that doesn't matter. You need to get this as fast as possible and then have that with boots. Your Runic Echo's jungle item got buffed recently, so it's 80 ability power now, which is really good. The only sad part about it is that you will not have the extra movement speed it offered that it used to. But 80 ability power, 10% CDR, and 300 mana is a very, very good item for you. It's very cost effective as well, and the Red Smite is going to allow you to easily 1v1 people. I do advise Red Smite on Diana. Some people might be surprised by that and wonder why I don't go for Blue Smite. But Red Smite is just insanely overpowered. Like, it just gives you such an insane 1v1 potential because it's pretty much exhaust. Like, the Red Smite option is just so good. Like, yeah, I honestly don't know what to tell you about it. It's just really good. It pretty much gives you the same damage as Runic Echoes, like barring the burst, because it's not as bursty, but you do have more than enough burst yourself. And then this just allows you to, like, you can Red Smite somebody and then have the 1v1 early game. Have the 1v1 as in, like, you land your QW, then land your R, and then wait for another Q cooldown, and then have all the time to do that, and then also live through the fight and actually don't get damaged as much. So Red Smite is just your best option. Now after you finish the Red Smite, you want to get your Sorks pretty much as fast as possible. Upgrading your boots to a tier 2 is very good on a jungler, like to do it really early on, because it's going to allow you to have a lot more like roam speed. And roam speed is going to affect your jungle clear speed, and it's also going to affect just being there to counter gank or gank the enemy in general, and then to also chase them down. So this combination, you want to get that as fast as possible, these two items. Now after these two items, then your, like, I guess core item, your main item comes into play, and that's the Zhonya's. Zhonya's is probably the best item on Diana you can get, because it allows you to dive into the enemy team and survive. Also, it gives you a nice amount of armor and CDR, which is never bad. Getting the extra 10% CDR from that, plus this, is a good amount of CDR you can get from that. It's 20%, and also if you have the blue buff, it's going to be a 30% CDR in general. And that's a very nice amount of CDR on Diana. Your cooldowns are already very, very low, so CDR isn't as impactful, but like it matters, you know? You get 20%, it's a very added bonus. And yeah. Zhonya's, I mean, you can see it in the gameplays, or in the gameplay after this, or just in general, if you see me play Diana like ever, this item is really good. It allows you to just dive in, straight WRQ somebody, and just instantly delete them, press Zhonya's, and allow your team to follow up. Or you can just use E, then, like, you, for example, if you were to have a Yasuo on your team, you can go in W, or like with R, then WE, or WRE, is usually the combo with them. And then you just pull everyone towards you, press Zhonya's, Yasuo comes in with the ult, and then straight clean from there. Zhonya's is a very big item. Also, the stasis from this, if you use it on proper timing, you can wait for another like Q combo rotation because your cooldowns are that low. So Zhonya's, definitely the item you want. Now after Zhonya's, there are a few options. Usually the one I go with is Deathcap. Deathcap, because Deathcap just powers up your ability power an insane amount. It's a 40% increase plus 120 base that it gives. So it's going to end up with his build to give you about, at this stage in time, about 500 ability power-ish in that region. And that's very good on Diana because it's going to up your shield value, it's going to up your one-shot value, and just 1v1ing Diana becomes an absolute nightmare as soon as you get this. Also, the build path isn't that bad. It's 2 large rods, so 60 ability power per like option. It's a very, very good option. Now, the other option here could be a Lichbane. Usually, I do get a death cap, but if I find myself in a situation where, I don't know, I need this extra Lichbane, honestly, I'm gonna scratch that. Death Cap is definitely your option after this because it just gives you way too much ability power. It's gonna give you way more like than any other item could give you. So let's just call Death Cap also after that. I thought about it right now, but there's really no situation. I did it like 1% of the time, and just to tell you guys that 1%, it's not gonna really help you that much. If you have questions though, put them in the comments. I'll answer those. No problem at all. Now after Death Cap, there is a few options. For sure, a few options. One of those options is Lichbane. The other option is a Void Staff. And those are really like the main two you gotta decide between. If they have a lot of magic resist at this point, then you need to get that Void Staff to be able to get through that magic. Like magic resist with your magic penetration from this Void Staff. Also, just that's gonna allow you to get a lot of extra added burst through. If they don't have that magic resist though, then Lichbane becomes the better option. Because it's gonna allow you to get that extra auto attack of burst damage in. Plus, this gives you the extra added split push power to turrets and inhibitors. And that's the most important thing when, if they don't have magic resist, you do want to get this Lichbane, because that's going to be your most effective item at that point. But then always, really, you finish the build off with Void Staff, so your build is pretty straightforward. And yeah, with this right here, let me put it in order. This is pretty much straight build order every game, but like you kind of want to switch Void Staff and Lichbane when, depending on magic resist at this point in the game, or like however fed you are. So that's pretty much a build. And then as a final item, or like final items, the switch, there are a couple of options you can go for. Wait. Why are there so little AP items? What happened? Oh, I clicked magic penetration, Jesus. Alright, just ignore that bit, I suppose. Now, to replace these items, because honestly, 80 ability power, 10% CDR, 300 mana, it's a good item, but then if you compare that to like Ludens, it already gives you more out of all of those stats, plus it still gives you the proc. So at that point, Ludens actually is a better item for the later stages of the game on Diana, because of the fact that it just gives you more damage. Like 80 ability power, 90 right there, more mana from Ludens, and then also just you keep the CDR as well. So like it's an upgrade there you can do after like completing the rest of your build. It's gonna up your damage a little bit. And that little bit is going to be very effective still. Now, the other option and switch you want to make then, if you have more money, this is like capping out builds, because you need money for this, honestly. Like, this is already going to cost you quite a lot. And if you then start to scale through this, you don't want to like platform and don't buy anything, but you want to like kind of get more ability power in and then still like keep the rest of your stats in there. So then the final item becomes Spellbinder. You can replace your boots with Spellbinder. It gives you 10% movement speed, which is a really sick amount, plus 120 ability power. So this item, and you can also activate it to get more movement speed in certain situations when you need it. So this replaces boots perfectly as an item switch late game. So yeah, this combined with your Lichbane is going to give you 17% extra movement speed, which really easily makes up for missing boots. So then the straight up 120 ability power is just going to be a nice added bonus. Also, you do have the Void Staff at this point to help magic penetration. So you can easily lose this. Or well, I mean, you can lose this and lose the magic pen and it will not affect you in a negative way. So that's pretty much the full build for Diana. If you guys have any questions on this build, make sure to put them in the comments below. And I know, before you said it, and I will end off on this, let's talk about Nashor's Tooth. Because I know I'm gonna get this. This item is good, but only in specific situations. If you are finding yourself against a lot of tanks on the enemy team, like very high health, just beefy champions, then you want to use this Nashor's Tooth as a replacement for this, for your Runic Echoes. Runic Echoes / Ludens, the items you want to pick up generally, and in most of your games, especially this current meta that is being played, is just for burst. It's mainly burst, and it's going to be straight up damage that's going to be very effective. But if you are like finding yourself in a situation where you're facing a lot of tanks, where you need more DPS, like more damage per second instead of instant burst, like more just overall damage, and Nashor's Tooth is the item you need at that point. So Nashor's Tooth will replace Ludens / Runic Echoes as a final item in a build like this, if you find those types of teams, if you actually need that like overtime damage. Also, something that I do have to mention is Nashor's Tooth is great for split pushing, because this synergizes really well with your passive and also your Lichbane. At that point, like, you hit a turret, one all-out attack, it's gonna be like 60% of the fucking damage of that turret. So it's gone. As soon as you make contact with anything, it's gone. You can easily just force a minion wave down the bot lane, for example. And then as soon as you make contact with your turret, you can just go on that turret and just sacrifice your life and get like the turret and the inhibitor in like 2 seconds. So if you are really looking for something like that, and if you really need something like that, then that's when you pick up Nashor's Tooth. And I did want to mention that. I almost forgot to mention it. But usually this doesn't happen in the games right now. It might in the future if like a tank meta comes back or anything like that. But that's the use for Nashor's Tooth. So yeah, all that being said, if you guys have any questions, make sure to put them in the comments below. I'll answer those questions for you. And if you've enjoyed this video so far, please make sure to hit the thumbs up. Helps me a lot. And yeah, let's get right into the gameplay section now. Alright, welcome to the gameplay section of this guide. As you can see, I'm playing Diana, of course, into a Lee Sin. I figured I'd show you a game where I'm facing an early game jungler. It isn't Xin Zhao or like, yeah, but Lee Sin works as a very early game jungler, so you definitely need to like adapt to him. Mainly, early game junglers are the main issue for Diana. As soon as you can get through your first clear, you're pretty much good, especially if you play her properly, because a lot of people think she is unable to gank pre-level 6. Sure, it's not that easy to gank as it is when you do have your ultimate, but with good like positioning and coming from like good angles, you can definitely get a good gank going with your E. But with you will get your E at level 4 on Diana generally, so you kind of have to get through that first full clear. And since Diana clears really fast and without any real issues, getting through a full clear is not that big of a problem. So yeah. Now I'm gonna speed this up a little bit. Wait, no, there he is. It has been a little while for me. Now, right here, just get the leash. Honestly, the best way to start is just getting a blue buff leash, no matter what size you're on. Because with blue buff, you'll be able to get through your jungle clear the easiest, with the most health left, because you're able to spam your abilities a lot more. However, you can also easily start red buff with Diana if you need to switch up your jungle clear, because counter, like, invades from maybe a Shaco, a Lee Sin, anything like that, for example, you might have to switch your jungle clear up and start red, which is also not a big issue for Diana either. She can clear from any side, any way, because she is just really good at clearing her jungle. As you can see right now, I've only used one potion. I've gotten through 4 camps, and I'm still on a really good amount of HP. I will have smite for this as well. And yeah, Lee Sin did get the first blood kill on the Aatrox, but honestly, there's not much I could have done about it. The best thing that could have happened for me was that Aatrox probably like notices that the Lee Sin was actually gonna gank him, which was pretty obvious because he did start bot side, which he also saw. So yeah, and right here you hit level 4, and this is the spike where you actually start to become very useful. You have about 950 gold, depending on what you spend, depending on if you get delayed a little bit. You have about 900 to 950 gold. There are a couple of options you can do with that back. If I don't hit the 950 gold mark, I'll go with the Amplifying Tome and Boots like I did this game. If I do hit that mark, then I will go for the Skirmisher Saber with Boots option. Boots are always going to be in there, but yeah. Now in here, just pick Scuttle. On Diana, doing Scuttle is very easy because you can just press E next to the Scuttle, then it resets everything. Not everything, it resets all the, like, or kind of, like, reduces a lot, that's the word I was looking for. Reduces the armor and magic resist from Scuttle, which then makes it easy to kill. Now, this is what I mean with you can easily gank on Diana. It is not that big of a deal, because in this situation, bot lane was fighting. Bot lane was getting kind of low. I was around, so I just walked down bot lane. Sadly, the Draven didn't have heal, so I didn't kill him with that. But going off that, there's those types of situations are the situations you kind of want to find yourself in if you are pre-level 6 ganking. You need to make sure you at least do like 1 or 2 ganks to put some pressure down, to make sure you put that pressure down. Because if you do not gank at all before level 6, which is what I see a lot of Dianas do, then you will run into the issue of the enemy jungler actually getting ahead, or not even getting ahead. Let's say he doesn't even get any kills, but he puts out more pressure, so he gets more summoners and he gets more pressure out of your laners. So even if your ganks are garbage and they don't do anything, really, like realistically, Diana's ganks shouldn't work that often. You need to make sure to at least walk into some lanes from like unexpected angles to try to get a flash or just to put pressure down. Because if you do not do that, then you're just gonna put your team in a very disadvantaged, like in a very terrible spot, and that's how you can easily lose pre-level 6 with Diana. Now right here, I'm playing against Lee Sin, so your main objective here is, as you can see me path like this. I'll slow it down a little bit once it gets to it. Right, so here the Pike engages. Now all I have to make sure to do is I stand in between Lee Sin and the Jhin, because Lee Sin's main kill potential here is landing that Q on Jhin. The minions are helping me block a certain path as well, and as you can see, I am positioning myself to be in between Jhin at all times, which is what I did right there, and then that way Jhin survives, and we pick up the kill on Lee Sin. Now, I hit level 5 here, which is very nice as well, and basically after that point, you just go back to full clearing. Usually it's like a full clear gank bot lane full clear type of situation, because you start bot lane usually. You can also do it the other way around, it just depends. And by gank bot lane, I mean you recall, then get your items, and then gank bot lane, of course, not just straight walk the bot lane, please, don't do that. Alright, right there, honestly, the sad part here is, if you look at my experience bar, I'm like 10 XP off level 6, which, I can't see it here exactly, can I? No, I can't, but as you can see, this bar, nearly full, which means I'm about to hit 6, and if I was 6 right here, that Sinch would have died, also this Lee Sin would have died. And then after that, most likely the Syndra would have died too, but she might have just been able to kill me because she is level 6 and she does have her ultimate. So that was kind of like, yeah. Now, TF does still get the kill on the Lee Sin there, which is nice. The start of this game, not the greatest for me, I'd say. I do have a good amount of CS just because Diana farms so fast, and I did get a couple of minions in the bot lane as well. But yeah, that's just the lead you're gonna have generally over any jungler, because you farm that quickly. Now right here, at this point, you hit level 6, and then it's where Diana starts to become an actual monster when it comes to ganking. Her gap close ability and just like straight one-shot potential, I'd say, is really, really disgusting to deal with in a gank. Like, you can walk on from the side, and also your E has the ability to cancel someone's flash or just dashes out in general. So if you time your E correctly, you can cancel out a complete dash from like a Renekton or just anyone that has a dash, for example. And that's going to be a very massive gank tool as well. There's really no dodging it, because you can just ult and then E onto somebody, and then that way your gank is going to very easily succeed. Now right here, this is the moment where I can back for my jungle item, I do believe. As soon as you get that jungle item, that's where you spike. That is like your big power spike. Your jungle clear becomes really fast, you pretty much one-shot all of the camps. And then also you have the mana sustain to get through the jungle very easily as well. As you can see right here, you just kind of want to make sure that you ult the camps as much as possible. So you Q ult, Q ult, Q ult. On the big one, of course, because... And then the splash damage from your auto attack from passives and your W will just kill the rest. Also your Q will help a lot. Alright, so at this point, I saw everyone top lane and I wanted to go bot lane with Aatrox just to get the turret. Diana is very good at getting turrets, just splitting off to the side and just picking off turrets. It is one of her biggest win conditions, so you definitely need to keep that in mind. If you are really fed, and you did get like a good amount of kills by just proper rotations and all that, then splitting becomes one of your best options, because Diana literally two-shots the turret. If you have a Lich Bane on Diana and like a decent amount of AP, the turret's gone. Like, you walk up to the turret and it's gone. Plus, she is really, really hard to 1v1. Because of the fact that Diana just has that shield, which gives her a lot of extra HP when it comes to 1v1ing people. Plus, one of the first items you rush is your Zonias, because it's a very important item. And that item is going to even give you an even bigger advantage in a 1v1, because you can go in. And then then pretty much just, I guess, get your shield up, get all the damage out you can, and then wait for cooldowns to do it again. Since your Zonias active, if you time it correctly, can pretty much give you your shield and your Q back. So that's a very big advantage in a 1v1 situation. And also, because of her burst damage, and if you do get a little bit ahead, getting that split push power going, which I'm actually not sure if I did this game, but getting that split push power going is just going to be insane, because it takes like 2 or 3 people at least to kill you. And even then, you might actually get like 2 of them, which then opens up a lot of free pressure for your team, just straight up. And that's just a really good thing about it. Now right here, I do have 102 CS, sorry. I have the highest CS in the game, on like barring Syndra. But that's usually the kind of CS you can expect on Diana, really, because she just farms that fast. And if you gank properly and help push properly, you can get like a couple of CS from that. And then also invading can be a thing if you get a lead and actually are able to go into the enemy's jungle easily. Now here, this game, Lucien specifically had like 6 kills, so I kind of had to take that into account. I couldn't really just straight invade him because he actually has a chance of 1v1ing me at that point because he has so many kills. But yeah, I'm still a very substantial amount of CS ahead of him. It might not look like much, it's like 20 CS ahead, but that's a very good amount of CS ahead. Now this is the Zhonya's power spike. As soon as you get that, you can just start diving. Like really diving into the enemy team and just going for one shot. One of the deadliest combos Diana can do is just press W, R, Q, and then, or like EQ or auto attack, whatever. Just make sure you get that W and then R onto somebody and then Q. Most people don't expect this because they expect you to always want to land an ult reset. And landing that ult reset is good, sure, in a lot of situations, but if you have enough damage, if you are far enough ahead and go onto a squishy target, like he's half HP, or maybe you can just 100 to 0 somebody, then the best option you can go for is that WRQ combo, because that combo is literally going to one-shot. And then the safety of, like, that you will have escaping will be your Zhonya's. And that is where Zhonya's is a big item, and that's also why on Diana I picked the rune that reduces the item active cooldown, which is called Ingenious Hunter, I do believe. That is a really insane rune on Diana. It gives you such an insane extra cooldown on your... extra cooldown reduction on your Zhonya's, which makes diving a lot more easy, like a lot easier. And it, like the Zhonya, if you don't build Zhonya's on Diana as like second item at least, then you're honestly doing something wrong, because that item opens so many dive potentials, one-shot potentials, just playmaking in general, that you cannot miss that on Diana. She dives in easily, she one-shots people easily, and that item is just insane. Now right here, I land that Q on Lee Sin. I could have followed that through, but the reason I didn't is because I didn't really see the rest of the team. And that would be a risky dive, because I am quite squishy, even though I do have Zhonya's. I need to be a bit careful here. I'm still a mage. Alright, here I'm looking for a dive onto something. I don't really have the opportunity to engage that well, because my team is like half HP, barring TF. TF is like, didn't really get hit that much. But yeah, right here, I don't really have anything to do at the minute. Right, I should just be like going to a bot or top side and just pushing that in. That's the best thing you can do in those situations. If you don't really have anything to do, just try to pick up some farm that your team is not able to get. You, of course, do not want to, like, as a jungler, take all of the lane CS. Like, I see a lot of junglers that try to, like, I guess, win the game. They just start to take everything. Which, even as, like, a top laner or anything like that, it's very annoying. Because, let's say, like, you have a mid laner that scales really well, and as a jungler, you're just there. Like, sure, I'm Diana this game, alright? But if you weren't playing Diana, and you're just taking all of your laners' farms, like, every single bit of it, you're gonna have, like, 350 CS, sure, but then your laners are gonna be straight useless. So, you need to take that into account as well, and also give farm where you need to give farm. Don't take everything, but if you are in those situations like that, you don't really have anything to do, and you see a big wave on the bot side, your team is not around for it, or anything like that, then you can easily go for it. One other thing to remember, though, is if you do see, as a jungler, things on bot side, always make sure to keep Baron in mind. Because if you go bot lane as a jungler, you need to take into account that the enemy can just straight rush Baron, and that is a very big thing you also have to remember there. I'll pick up Pyke there, because he pretty much just overextends way too far. And yeah, we have the Baron right now. They did get, like, some pushing going on mid lane, but that's all good. At this point, I should be very close to picking up my death cap, I think. I pick up a second large rod. I mean, I am... As soon as you get the death cap, your ability power spikes up to, like, 500-ish, I believe it was. And at that point, you're just gonna be a straight god. Like, as soon as you get to that stage, you can literally just go to, like, any turret in the side lane. You don't even need Lich Bane. As soon as you get the passive hit on the turret, you pretty much destroy the turret in one go. So that's kind of the option I'm opting with right now. This is one of the best plays you can make with Baron and with Diana on your team. Now, I'm going to talk in what went wrong here. The best thing you can do with Baron is push in as many lanes as you can, really. A lot of teams I see make the play of going like 5 mid, whilst like either your top lane, like your top laner teleports you split push, because pushing one extra wave in just creates a lot of added pressure on the enemy team. And that's going to allow you to easily pick off like turrets. For example, especially with Diana, if I can reach this turret with the Baron minions, I'm pretty much just going to 2-shot this turret down. And then if my team just stands back far enough and waits for me to have that extra pressure, the enemy team is going to have to react with like 1 or 2 people. And then the team is going to be in a 4v4 situation or even a 4v3 situation if they do send 2 people down to me. And that is really how you want to play with Baron. And that's what this team does not understand. So I tried to tell this team that in chat, because I always tell the team that in chat when I'm going for split pushing. So right here, they are opting for the mid lane. Bear in mind, this is not high elo. This is like Diamond 4, I believe it was. Like Diamond 5, Diamond 4 elo, about there is where I played this in. Because I'm just started ranking this account up. I'm not that high on this specific account yet. But this was definitely just something to show, and something like a gameplay to show where this type of stuff can go wrong, and then also how to fix it. So right here, my team is creating too much pressure already, whilst I don't even have pressure yet. So at this moment in time, I'm running bot lane. I am starting to push this wave out. I'm really just looking to start this. But my team is already like looking to walk up too far. TF gets caught just because he walks up too far. I don't have the pressure yet. They don't have the vision control for that. So they walked up way too far, pretty much inted like a triple kill to the enemy team. And that puts me in a very awkward position. Now your team might, but my team started flaming me here for not being in this specific situation. Whilst all that had to happen was they just stand back here, wait for me to pressure in bot lane, and then they can pressure in with me. That way the team has to, the enemy team has to either all in this, which means they lose the inhibitor. They have to like send 2 or 3 people to me, which means that I probably killed 2 of them, honestly, at this point. 6, 2, and 8, 166 CS, level 15. I most likely kill like 2 of those people. And then my team just has the open choice to get this turret, or this inhibitor, or just to all-in dive him, because a 4v3 or 4v2, or whatever situation it's going to be, is going to be still advantageous for them. And that's the way it should have gone. But instead, like you can see right here, my team just dies 3 for 0, because they walked up too far, didn't wait for me to pressure, and that's where split pushing a lot of the times goes wrong, and that's where people have to remember to also, I'm just telling you this right now. If you have a split push on team, wait for his pressure. It's a very big thing, and if you want to play Diana effectively, you need to tell your team this. You need to make sure that if they don't follow it, as you see right now in this game, they didn't know how to follow it, then you also need to know how to fix it. So right here, I mean, I have a lot of damage. I pretty much just kind of instantly delete the Raven. Sure, he did heal there, and that kind of fucked it up, because Len also Lee Sin kicks, which I was surprised he still had after that fight entirely. But then he also kills me. That was a very unfortunate situation, and that did cost us a lot just because my team was unable to wait and pressure. But then, as you can see right here, this is really how you fix that. Sure, we do lose the inhibitor for that right now, but there's not much you can do about that. All they had to do was wait. Now, the enemy team gets a little bit overzealous, not gonna lie. They forced down 2 inhibitors, but it did cost them, like, pretty much their entire team. And with Aatrox teleporting down, he does open the inhibitor up for us again. So it's actually not that bad. Aatrox trading his life for that turret right there is actually very nice. But the enemy team definitely made a mistake of trying to force that second inhibitor a little bit too hard, because they should not have, like, lost that second turret. Now, the advantage of that, getting that second inhibitor, though, is the fact that they can just push bot lane, which is then going to force us in a very awkward position, because we need to defend that bot lane, and the other waves are going to push in. So we kind of have to either engage fast, or we just need to make something happen. Now, Jhin gets hooked over, and this is what I mean by how to fix this, because now, at this point, I'm grouping with my team, because I have no choice. If I don't group with my team, they're just going to do the straight up the same thing, because I did it before. They don't know how to deal with anything, so you have to group with your team. I am level 16 right now, and some of you guys might be like, why didn't you just straight up group with your team in the first place? I explained everything before, so yeah, that's the reason why. So right here, all that has to happen is you need to find these types of situations where 2, 3, or maybe 4 enemies cluster together like this. And then all you do is your basic combo. You can lead with Q if you have the opportunity to, which I don't think I had the opportunity to do that right here. Let me check. Alright, so fight's breaking out. I am kind of standing back a little bit more. I'm a mage, so I cannot be in the front line too much. So I need to take that into account. Now right here, this is the perfect situation. They cluster together. As soon as you see this type of situation on Diana, this is where Zhonya's becomes really good, and also the dive potential becomes really good with your combo. So you want to go for like the middle target. That's usually your aim. The more targets you can dash through, the better. So if I would get the optimal choice here, I'd dash on Syndra, because I would go through Pyke. All my W's would hit Pyke, and then I would hit Syndra, and then my Q could maybe follow that through or something like that and kill Pyke. So right here, they cluster together really nicely for me at the moment. So at this moment in time, did I lead it with Q? No, I didn't lead it with Q. I led with R. This is what I tend to do a lot, because this just gives you the most fastest damage output. And of course my R is only a 10-second cooldown, so it's not that bad. Zhonya's gives you a pretty substantial invulnerability stasis, so that's gonna help you with getting that cooldown back as well. I dash in, I kill the Pyke instantly, and then from there, you pretty much just want to make sure you auto attack Q and then auto attack again. The reason you lead with an auto attack is just a slight animation thing, so it's a little bit faster to do it that way. You don't cancel your own auto attacks on that. So pretty much right there, I jump in. I pretty much one-shot 3 people at the same time, and grouping like that is what fixes it. I get a quadra kill, and that's pretty much game, honestly. At that point, you can easily just win. I was already far enough ahead for this to work out, so right now with the enemy team dead, you can just go bot lane and just take the inhibitor real quick. Wait, I'll go back right here to show you just how much damage you do with Diana. Also, a big thing to remember, which you can see, I believe, right here, in between 2 hits. On Diana, on the inhibitors, you have to make sure you do this properly. If you don't do it properly, your passive will not proc on the inhibitor, and that's gonna really fuck you over. Right there, you see I was standing too far away from the inhibitor, so the inhibitor only went down by like a tiny amount. I was standing like right here. Also, you need to stand right next to it, or your passive is not going to hit the inhibitor. So as you can see, that difference hit with this, when I'm standing right next to it. There's the auto attack right next to it, that chunked it for like 1/4 of it, maybe a little bit more. But that's the difference. You, against inhibitors, stand right next to it, or it's not going to hit. Pretty much with anything. If it doesn't hit, you weren't standing right next to it with turrets, inhibitors. But inhibitors, it's very important to stand right next to it. If you don't, then you will not get the inhibitor as fast, and that's probably gonna cost you a lot. If you successfully combine your E with a Lichbane, not your E, sorry, your passive proc on the inhibitor with a Lichbane proc, you do about 80% of the inhibitors that like HP and damage. So you auto attack it twice, which is gonna be about 10% per auto attack. And then you press like E or something to get your Lichbane, because your E isn't that useful. So that's usually the option I opt for first, if I need to use something to get my Lichbane procs. Either your E, or you can just throw out a random Q, but throwing out a random Q is a little bit more risky than just throwing out your E, because your E is a little bit more useless when it comes to like bursting people. So you just throw out your E, and then you make sure you get the hit with your passive, and you pretty much one-shot the inhibitor. And that is like a very scary, yet effective, I guess scary for the enemy team, a very effective split push method. All you have to do is make contact with the turret, and like with a wave, and you get the turret. Like, it's that quick. It's really hard to like react to unless they already have sent someone preemptively, which then you can one-shot that guy. Now, right there, honestly, they make a terrible mistake in this specific situation. And I'll follow myself. Hello. Thank you. So right here, they started Baron, which already not the greatest move. Then Pyke hooks me over the wall. Now, usually hooking the jungler and then killing your jungler is a good option. But I do have Zhonya's, so that's something they have to remember. Lee Sin then makes the insane mistake of flashing over and actually giving me a way out, without having to use flash or Zhonya's. Because I can just WR to him, one-shot their jungler, which instantly forces them to stop doing Baron. And then from that, you just win. Now right here, again, one of the important things on Diana to remember. People try to lead with Q too much on Diana. Way too much. Leading with Q is mainly a thing for the early and mid game on Diana, because that's where you really need the resets with your ultimate. At this stage in the game, level 17, level 16, 17, 18, the higher levels where you already have like 3 ranks in your ultimate, even like earlier when you have like 2 ranks in your ultimate, then it becomes really good to just lead with R. Like, you can WR onto something and then just deal a sick amount of damage onto them and just press Q right on top of them, which is gonna be pretty much impossible for them to dodge. Like, you can, if you throw a Q from like a max range Q, they can quite easily dodge it by like walking back to you or just... It becomes a skill shot that's hard to land, whilst if you land with lead with WR, it's not that big of a cooldown and it's just gonna guarantee the burst because it's pretty much undodgeable unless they flash it. Which, if you time your E correctly, can be counteracted as well because you can pull someone out of their flash back to you. So as you can see right about here, Draven gets knocked up and I just lead with R. As you can see the amount of damage I deal to that guy, he just pretty much gets deleted. And from here, I just kill the Syndra as well. Now we can just end at this point. It was really not that big of a deal. That was the end of this game. And that's really the way you kind of want to play Diana. Sure, split pushing didn't go too effective for me this game, but I kind of made up for that by just making sure that I get the good dive timings in, like the clusters I explained to you earlier. If you dive into those clusters and just like WRQ into that cluster, you can easily like 60% everyone on the enemy team, deal 60% damage to everyone on the enemy team, and then also even more to the one you actually jump on. And if you have your passive prep, that's even better. That's just going to be a straight delete, but that's an ideal situation which is really hard to actually execute in game. So yeah, that's pretty much how you want to play Diana. Just make sure that, like, as a conclusion, make sure that you don't do nothing in the early game, because that is very important. You want to make sure you get your full clear in, but besides that, as soon as you get that full clear in, recall, get your items, and instantly look for at least some type of gank. Look for some pressure. Look for something to do. Don't just sit around for like those 15 to 20 seconds where your camps are down for a little bit and do nothing. That's the worst thing you can do, because that's pretty much one of the most important situations for you in the early game as Diana. As soon as you hit that level 6, you can easily just one-shot all of your camps, go throughout your entire jungle clear and just run into lanes and just kill them. Because with your ultimate, it's very, very hard for them to get away from you, especially if you come from a like decent enough angle. So yeah, that's pretty much how you play Diana. If you guys have any questions on this champion, make sure to put them in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit the like button as well, and subscribe for more guides in the future. See you guys in the next video. Bye!